Welcome. Welcome to my kitchen, and today we're going to be making some potato fritters. Now the recipe I'm using is from a book called Mary at the Farm from 1915 when she was visiting, actually the author was visiting some Pennsylvania Dutch farms in Pennsylvania, and she recorded a recipe that they use for potato fritters. Potato fritters is a common recipe, goes way back, all through Appalachia, through the South. Anywhere you had potatoes, you had potato fritters. So I raised my own potatoes. I'll put a link in the description of my potatoes that I grow. I grow a purple variety, I grow a red variety, and these are ones actually straight out of my garden. So that's what we're going to be using for the potato fritters today. And also I got an onion here. I didn't raise this myself, but I got this locally. So we're going to jump right into it. The first thing we want to do is get our cast iron skillet. I'm using today about I think it's about a 9-inch skillet. We're going to be putting oil in it. Whatever your preference for oil is, just go ahead and use that. I'm going to put it over there on the stove, put it on about medium heat, get that warmed up a little bit, and then we're going to come back and we're going to prep our potatoes and our onions. So we have our skillet warming up over on the stove, and put my oil in it, and I'm not going to go into what type of oil to use. Everybody's got their favorite oil, but put about a 1/4 inch of oil in there, let that start warming up. I have it right now on medium low, so it doesn't get too hot, but I just want to start getting it warm so the skillet's going to warm up for what we're going to do. So I went ahead and pared my potatoes, and I have 4 of them here because 2 of them are a little bit smaller. Like I said, I grow my own potatoes, so a lot of times the potatoes that I have might be smaller than what you'd buy in the grocery store. So they're ready to go, and I always keep them in water because that kind of keeps them from oxidating, turning color ahead of time. So I'm just going to pull them out here. And I got a box grater here. All I'm going to do is just use this box grater, and I'm just going to grate the 4 potatoes, put them back in the water to keep them from turning, and then we're going to get to the onion. I don't know where I got this grater from. I'll tell you what though, I like it because it has this little container on the bottom, so you can just kind of dump it in. To me, it makes it just a bit easier. So we'll grate these 4 potatoes, and as soon as we finish that, we'll be right back. So we grated our potatoes now, and we're going to go ahead and clean up my mess and go ahead and we're going to peel the onion, and we're going to do the same thing with about half of it. So once I peeled my onion, I'm just going to take about half of it here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and grate it. And depending on how much onion you like, you just add whatever you want. But I'm going to do about half the onion, and then I'll save the other half for another time. So I'm going to mix that just around just a little bit with my fingers, trying to get the onions and the taters kind of mixed together good. So let me go ahead and clean this up, and then we'll go to the next step. And once you have your potatoes and your onions grated and in the water mix, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to drain out the water. So I'm going to dump them in here, take them on over to the sink, and get the water out. When you do this, I don't know if I'll be able to show it or not, but once you start getting the water out, you want to use your fist, and you just want to squeeze it. You want to try to get as much water out as possible. So I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, but let's see if we can do it. So you just want to take fistfuls and just squeeze it. Try to get that water out, because the more water you get out, the better your potato fritters are going to be. They'll hold together much better. So I'm just going over here, I'm just squeezing them with my fists and just trying to help the water get out. Now the next step is we're going to use a dish towel to get the rest of the water out. So let's go ahead to that. So once we've gotten as much water out as we can, just by taking our hand, squeezing and making fists out of it, we'll bring it over here. I have 2 kitchen cloths here. I'm going to lay it down here. I'm just going to go ahead and dump this on. And what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and flip this over, and we're just going to go ahead and tap this, and we're just going to try to get as much water out that we can. So after you've squeezed out as much water as you can, you just want to go ahead and open it up, and you're going to be adding your potato onion mix into a medium-sized mixing bowl. I can smell those onions. So once you got that in there, the next thing you want to do is start adding your dry ingredients. And so for this recipe, what I'm doing is I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt, and you can adjust that to your taste, but I do about a teaspoon. And then I'll do about a half a teaspoon of freshly ground pepper, half a teaspoon of baking powder. And then I got about 3 cups of all-purpose flour that I'm going to add in. And then what I'm going to do is just go ahead and mix that up just a little bit. And then after you mix that up, you want to take your 2 eggs, and you have 2 eggs and you just want to beat them. And then you're just going to go ahead and pour that over your mixture. And I'm just going to mix that up a little bit. Try to get the egg everywhere, the flour everywhere. Now, except for the salt and pepper, I didn't add any spices. The one thing I like in mine, and you know, it just depends on your taste. Some people will add cheese, other things. I don't do any of that, which, I mean, I'm sure is good, but the only thing I really add, I like thyme. So I'll add a little bit of thyme to it. And let me just mix that in. And that's it. That's how easy it is. So let's go over and check our oil. And if our oil is warm enough, ready to go, we'll go ahead and start frying up our fritters. So we brought our fritter mix over to the stove. So let's go ahead and we'll put a spoonful in. I'm just going to put 1 spoonful in it first, just to make sure that it's ready. And actually it looked like it's worked pretty good there, so let me go ahead and put a couple more in. So what you do is you just take about a spoonful and just kind of squish it down a little bit. You don't want to crowd them though. So let me just put 1 more in over here. This is a small one. Now here's when you find out if you put enough flour and egg in. If you put too much flour and egg in, they don't taste as good. If you don't put enough flour and egg in, they don't hold together. So it's kind of a trick of the trade, and it's probably a trick that I don't know that well so far. So let me go ahead and we'll just let those fry for a minute. We'll flip them, and Lord willing, they're going to stay together. So I usually give them about 3 to 5 minutes per side, and then after they look like they're starting to brown, then I'll go ahead and flip them. Now you don't want your heat to be too hot. The reason being is you are working with raw potatoes. So it's not just that you want to brown them, but you also want to have to cook them. So medium heat, if it takes a little longer, that's not a problem, because you just want to make sure they cook through thoroughly, and then also they'll get brown on the outside. So once you start seeing the edges brown, they're probably ready to flip. So what I do is just go ahead and just pick one, give it a flip, and you can tell right away if they're ready or not. These are definitely ready to flip. So let me flip these, and then I'll bring the camera over, and then you can get a better look. So once they're brown on both sides, you just go ahead and take them off. And you can drain them on a paper towel if you want. I just usually use this. Seems to work pretty well. And then you just go ahead and put your next batch on. Again, just taking a spoonful and just put them in and kind of squish it out a little bit. So let's go ahead and pull off the last of them here. Now I'm going to grab me a plate and we're going to try one. So if you can see how good they look, they just look wonderful. So I'm just going to take a quick bite and see how they are. Crunchy and very tasteful. So like I said earlier, I pulled this recipe from a book from 1915, Mary at the Farm, and it's a Pennsylvania Dutch, Pennsylvania German recipe, but potato fritters, they were everywhere in Appalachia, in the South, anywhere where you had potatoes, you had potato fritters. So love this recipe going back over 100 years. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're able to make them. And if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and like it. If you want to see more videos like this about Appalachia cooking, Pennsylvania Dutch cooking, just living up on the mountains, just please go ahead and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.